Hello! Some time ago I did a tutorial for you guys to show how you can open up doors, windows and whatnot, interact with objects by creating line traces in a virtual reality environment, right? By just simply kind of aiming at them and shooting. That was fine and it worked, but the problem is that that's not how we interact with objects in reality. In reality, we actually, we go to a sliding door and we drag it open, or we go to a swinging door and swing it open, right? That is what I'm going to show you in this tutorial. And before we begin, I also want to note that this whole environment that I have created here, here's a sneak peek. That was done for our Ryanji house renovation project. I am centered. Okay, good. Our Ryanji house renovation project, which basically we're renovating a house in Japan, and if you're more interested in it, I will leave a link to a video series in the description below. Without out of the way, I guess we can get started. Alright, so we begin in this VR template map to get rid of any distractions, and then we will move on to the actual project. And the way I like to do this is I like to create the logic first, the blueprint first, and then add in functionality, as I need it. So we need to create the core for it. I will just simply, anywhere in your content browser, I'll just right click and choose blueprint class. I prefer to just have my folder structure such as this. Content, I create an assets folder, and then in it I have my blueprints folder. And here I just simply create a new blueprint class. It's going to be an actor, and I'm going to call this door swing tutorial, because I already have the working one right here. If I double click this, it opens up our blueprint. Let me actually drag it by its name and anchor it right next to this VR template map so that I can switch between these easily. Right, so now in here, what I want to do is I want to create a box, and once we grab that box within the VR environment, the box will rotate. Something as simple as that, and then we will build up the logic on it, right? The functionality, sorry, on it. So for the default scene root, right here, I want to add a new component, add, and I'll just use cube right here. Adds in a cube. If I remember correctly, actually let's compile, let's just drag and drop this in. Yeah, this is 1 cubic meter, which is fine. So we will use it as it is. Let me change this to lit mode so that it's a little bit prettier to look at. All right, cube, and it's going to be located, if we spawn here and I'm sitting here, I want it on my right side because that's going to be easy for me to test. So I will just have it somewhere here. Okay, so that's step 1. Step 2 is for this cube, I want to attach what's called a grab component on top of it. And the easiest way for me to explain this is actually by going to the VR template map, choosing this pistol, going to edit pistol, like so, looking at the blueprint of it, and looking at what kind of components does the pistol have, and one of them is grab component snap, right? So that indicates that grabbable objects require that component. And the thing that it does is basically an invisible area in which if you hover your hand in VR and you click the correct button, the grab button, it will register the component as being grabbed, and then you can add functionality to it. So for instance, in this case with the pistol, on grabbed, enable input for the player controller, so suddenly you can add inputs through this blueprint, and then it should hide the hand, and it changes the mapping context from just regular walking around, so basically action context from walking around to holding the gun. So suddenly when you push the trigger, the gun will actually shoot, and then you have the whole functionality here about that. Anyway, from all of this, all we care about is just the grab component. So I'll click on add and I'll search for grab component right here. Right? So that's added. what I kind of want to do is I want this grab component to actually be anchored to the box. So for example, if I if I look at it right now and I just kind of move it up, this single point is where basically you can grab the object with which you can grab the object. And in here, it's a little bit annoying if the point is, let's see here, and then the object rotates, the point will stay in the same place. I want the point to rotate together with the object. Let me reset the position of it back to center, actually to like top and somewhere here like that. Yeah, that looks fine. And I want this grab component to be actually anchored to the cube. So I'll just drag and drop it over the cube like so. So cube, grab component right here. Now, if I take the cube and I rotate it, and I look at where the grab component is, you can see that the grab component rotates with the cube. Even easier for me to show you is if I were to, let me reset the rotation of the cube. If I were to select the grab component, click on add and add a sphere anchored into the grab component. So this is basically the relation hierarchy, right? The transform of this object informs the transform of this object, the transform of this object informs the transform of this object, right? So for the sphere, if I reset its position and I decrease the scale a little bit, now we can always see where the grab component is, because the sphere, you know, does not have any translation of its own, and it's just following where the grab component is. And now if I rotate the cube, right, the sphere or the grab component rotates with it, and we can visually see the knob that we can grab. Great. We compile, we go to the VR template map, and we see that the whole thing is on the opposite side from where I want it to be. I'm lazy, so I'm just going to do this. Perfect. Okay. So now under the event graph, we want to create functionality for this, you know, to how it works. So the first thing is I want to have an action called onGrabbed, right? So when this object is considered to be grabbed, I will right click and I'll just type in onGrabbed. Maybe grab. Nope. Okay. We will do this other way around. I'll just select the grab component here. And on the right hand side, right above where my webcam is, you see events. And I'll click this plus sign for onGrabbed, like that, which actually creates this node here. And for this node, I will, we will do a very simple thing. Let's go for sequence. No, sorry, it's not a sequence, it's a timeline. Apologies. Timeline. Let's create a timeline that we will call swing. Double click it. And once you double click it, you can actually add some sort of an animation curve into this, right? So I'll click on this. First of all, change the length. So how long should it take for the doors to swing open? I guess like 2 seconds or 1 second, nothing more than that. I'll do 2 seconds for the length. And I'll click on the add track button right here. It's just a single number that we will be changing, which is going to be our angle. So I'll add float track. And the track can be also swing track or something like that. You can also just not name it if you want to. Once this is done, we basically will have a animation line, right? Going from 0 to 2 seconds with a possibility to increase a value over time. Right now it just starts at 0, it ends at 0. Nothing happens. If I right click and I click on add key right here, you can see this little point appears, and then I can say, as long as I have it selected, it needs to be blue. Click on it, it needs to be blue. I can add at which time, what value should it have? So at time 0, it should have value of 0, right? So at the beginning, there's no rotation, right? Then I will right click again on this, anywhere actually, in this graph, add key, right? Like so. As long as I have it selected, I will say at time of 2 seconds, so time is 2, value should be 1. The reason why it's 1 is because it's easy to then multiply it by 90 to get 90 degrees, for example, right? So between 0 and 1 is a very nice range. Now it's out of my screen. To actually refocus it, I can just click on these two buttons right here. There we go. We have 0, we have 1. The box will rotate, the door will open with this as this is triggered. Okay, this is all we need to do. Well, actually, let's right click on both of these buttons or nodes and choose not linear, but rather auto interpolation. Right here, right click here, auto. What it does, it kind of smooths it out, so it slowly gains momentum and then it slowly loses momentum at the end, right? It's not as robotic, it's a little bit more natural, the way the number increases, the angle increases. Okay, so swing template is done. I can close it and never ever look at it again, don't care. And then what we want to do is we want to say when the object is grabbed, play this timeline. And as the timeline is playing, this track will spit out a number between 0 and 1, right? And what we want to do with the number is basically multiply it by 90. Oh, my bad. Drag out of there, multiply 90 degrees, like so. And then you want to get the cube and transform it, right? So I want to drag over the cube here from my scene or components tab, drag out of it and set, let's go for relative location. Nope, not location, set relative rotation, right? Like so. Update goes in here. So, and the new rotation, I can just simply make a rotator. So drag out a wire from here, make rotator, like so. And I don't want to rotate it along the X or Y, I only want to rotate it along the Z, right? So that's the only place where I'll connect my 90 degrees or a range between 0 and 90, because 0 times 90 is 0, right? And 1 times 90 is 90. So it will slowly increase into that angle. One thing that I already see happening is that, and actually I should probably explain this even before we see it happen with VR, is the moment I grab the component, any kind of a... Oh no, never mind. Sorry, I wanted to say that the transformation, this rotation that I've added of 180 degrees, right? That will be overwritten, but not really, because basically this transformation that where I rotated it like so is not me rotating the box. No. It's me rotating the default scene root or even the actual blueprint. So the box doesn't care. The box has its own small rotation within the larger, right? So that's the hierarchy that I was talking about. Quite important to kind of get a sense of it to understand. Either way, this should be enough for the whole thing to work. Let's test it out. For that, I need to hook up my VR headset. Be right back. All right, so let's now test it out. If I press play, you will see that, yeah, that's my another controller. Don't worry about that one. If I grab this, nothing happens. Nothing happens. But if I grab the box, I can actually not just rotate it, but it also was, or sorry, I don't just grab it and then drag it around, but also it was rotating as I was grabbing it, you know, by its face. So something fishy is going on. And the main thing to understand is that the grab component has different behaviors encoded in it, in how it can actually, you know, behave as you grab the object, right? So the most, the easiest one, if I select the grab component, or not the easiest, sorry, the default one, is set to grab type free, which means that as you grab it, you can drag the object around. No, that's not what we want. We also don't want a snap dragging. We want the custom dragging or custom grabbing, right? Like so. If I compile now, press play, select this, Now the object actually rotates, right? Yay. That works, right? That works like a charm. So now I want a logic that when I grab this again, it should rotate backwards, right? And to do so, we do need to start building up the complexity a little bit. So, I mean, at this point, the main logic, and actually let me get rid of this. There we go. We don't need all of those components. The main logic is there. The main logic is done. From now on, everything else is just going to be making it nicer, making it more functional, right? So for example, the first thing that I want to ask is the door closed or not, right? Will the door be closed or not? And that is a variable. This is very annoying on my head. I'll remove it. And that is a variable, right? And the variable can be created in a blueprint system by just going to the right-hand side, clicking on variables, clicking the little plus sign. And even by default, it already creates a Boolean, which is yes or no, true or false. And here I can ask is closed, or not ask, but create a variable is closed. And I can say that by default, all doors that I create will be closed, so will be false. If I compile this and I look at the variable here, you can see it either can have a tick mark or not, as long as you have selected the variable. So I'll put the tick mark here, like so. Turned off the headset. So I'll put I put the tick mark there. So now by default, this variable is indeed closed at the start of the game. And I can say that if, one second, thinking. If this is closed, I will grab the variable here, get is closed. If this is closed, then we need to have two logic gates, right? So branch out, branch, can't write, branch. There we go. When this pulse comes in here into this branch, if this is set to true, if this is indeed closed, then it should open, so it should play. But if this is set to false, if this is not closed, if this is open, then it should close it, right? So what should it do? You should play it in reverse. So from 90 angles, it becomes 0. Easy as that. The problem is that this does not change, right? There is no logic in here that makes this variable change, so we need to create a logic. And the way of how we can do this is we can take, we can ask what's the angle, right? At which number are we currently at in the swing track? And if it's not 0 degrees, if it's anything else than 0 degrees, that means the door is open. If it's 0 degrees, that means it's shut close. So I will create a new variable and I'll call this current value. Current value. And this is not going to be yes or no. This is actually going to be a number. So I'll expand the Boolean button here, or type here, and I'll choose float. Float number means there's numbers after the comma, right? Integers is full numbers. Current value, float, drag it over, and I will not get current value. I will set current value. Set current value. And then every time when we update, so the wire goes in here, we will set the current value according to what the swing track spits out, like so. Right? And then this value can then be fed into multiplication by 90 to get the actual degrees. And then those, also don't forget once you set the value, you actually need to rotate, so the wire needs to go like so, right? And then that's used to create the relative transform for the box. That's that, right? That's ready to go. Now, with this, compile, save. I think we're kind of good. Oh no, sorry, I'm stupid, because the current value, right? We are setting it, but we're never testing is what's the current value, you know, should this be is it open or closed? So we do need to do one more thing. Expand here. Is closed, we will choose to set is closed, like so. And we will ask, is the current value, get current value, drag over and get current value, is the current value equal to 0? And that is going to be our is closed output, not output, sorry. We're overwriting is closed. So if this is like 90 degrees or 1 in this case, this is going to be false, which means it's already open, you know, it's not closed, which means that then it's going to play in reverse. That's the logic, at least, right? And with that done, we're kind of good to go. Here you can also do this if you want to, right? That works as well. But I prefer to just have it like so. Okay, let's compile, save, take a look at this, and turn on the headset. Keep forgetting to do that. Okay, if I play now, okay. Oh, why am I so far away? There we go. If I play, I click, grab this, grab, there we go. That rotates, easy. And can I, sorry for being so clunky, it's weird with the, there we go. If I grab it now, it rotates back in place, right? So rotates forward, and then I will hit my screen, grab this, rotates back. Easy as that. Now we have a working logic for the whole thing. There are problems, you know, so for example, the grab component actually uses the whole damn box on which it's anchored rather than just the little sphere, which I think is fine for this particular tutorial. If you were to have multiple objects, then it would multiple objects consisting of a door, for example, a door handle would be a separate object, then only the door handle would react to it. For example, here you have a door, and then you have only the handle, and the grab component is only attached to the handle. Then only this would be the trigger once you grab it. We'll get to that. That's in the future of this video, actually. Okay, with that done, I think it's time to, like, this is already kind of good to go. What do? We actually want to now replace this with proper geometry, right? So in Rhino, and it doesn't matter if you're in Rhino or if you're anywhere else, it's whatever, we create a door. In this case, I use Rhino because I'm most familiar with it, but you can do it so in Blender, in any kind of a 3D modeling software. The door that I have created, already talked about it, but it has two components, the door handle as well as the actual door slab, and the way you export it actually matters. So if I were to export it right now as it is, and let's do it, export. And I'll just export it to, sure, my desktop, whatever. Motion Builder FBX. I prefer to use FBX for this kind of stuff. I'll call this bad door because I know that I'm doing a bad thing here. Export. Sure, doesn't matter. Like, okay, that's maybe a little bit overkill in terms of polygons. Let's do less. A little bit more. CAD software, you know. Ew. Really wants to create a crap ton of polygons. That doesn't matter. Okay, this is exported. And then if I go into there we go, into Unreal Engine, I'll just get it in here, into the same folder, so that we're all, you know, on the same page. So I will just click on import. You can drag and drop it in as well, baddoor.fbx. And here I can choose to either combine static meshes or have them be imported separately. In this case, I will just have them combined because it's a different thing that I want to show you, right? So have them combined. Import. Wait for it. And there we go. We have our bad door imported. Wait for it to stop having a seizure and actually load in the geometry. Why does it take so long? That's weird. Oh, it's because of the shaders. Okay, it's here, it's here. W. And now we try to actually fish it out. For some reason, it imported like way too big. That's weird. Why? Is this? 1 second. I might be. This might be centimeters versus millimeters problem. Distance. Yep, that's 750 centimeters. So this should be 10 times smaller. All I'm going to do is just scale it. Scale the whole thing. Base point is at 0, 0.1. Yeah, that's the door. Export again. Apologies for this, but maybe it's an important moment as well. Unreal Engine works with centimeters, while typical CAD programs work with millimeters. So getting the geometry in Unreal Engine that's 10 times too big is quite a common occurrence. I'll just replace this. Replace the original FBX with the new one. I'll go back into here and right click on the bad door actor and choose re-import. It will simply re-import with the new mesh, right? As I drag and drop this in, you can see the door right here. And there's a problem, right? The door rotates around a weird pivot point. And the pivot point around which it rotates is actually world XY axis here, right? World 0, 0 coordinate here. And that's because I exported it without giving it an origin, right? But so what it does, it just takes the world origin, and from there on out, it's going to be the pivot point of the object that is being exported. That's a no-go. That's a bad JoJo. So there's two ways of how to solve this. Way number one is to actually use, actually create a point from which you will be exporting. So a pivot point for your door. Second way is actually placing the door properly on the grid as you're exporting it. In most cases, in an architectural setting, you can't really export the door. You don't actually work in a separate file, for the doors. It's actually in a bigger building CAD model, right? So you don't really want to move the door to the world 0, 0. So instead, what you do is you give it a point. In this case, actually, I also want to kind of rotate this 180 degrees, simply because I like when things align with the positive x-axis. It really doesn't matter, but whatever. And then you want to specify what's the pivot point around which this whole thing should rotate. Why do these not match up? And why is there a center point snap here? Whatever, right? So what's the pivot point around which the whole thing should rotate? In this case, I want the door swing to be inwards, so I'll put a pivot point right here. The position of it in the y-axis, or sorry, the z-axis doesn't matter, but I prefer move vertical to have it positioned right at the bottom of the door geometry. And from here on out, this is a very important point. This is a point around which the whole thing will rotate. I will type in export, but this time with origin. Export with origin. Not just export, but with origin. There are similar options for other CAD software, similar options for Blender, and so on, right? I'll select this point. That's the origin of the export. And I'll export it as bad door. From now on, it's not going to be bad anymore, but sure. Hit yes. Hit OK. We're good to go. Now back in Unreal Engine, I'll right-click, re-import. And now you see that the door is imported in the correct position, right? Around the correct pivot point. And it swings naturally. Do we actually move into the Ryonji house at this point? Yeah, I think now we're in an architectural setting, so let's move on to the proper level. 1 second. There we go. So all of these are interactive, right? And now if I go to my blueprints, turn off that filter here, and I just get my door swing tutorial in here, like that. I won't move it, I won't change anything about it, just position it like so. Actually, let me move my starting position so that it's kind of convenient, like that. There we go. And here I will just want to be able to change my geometry with this door or some other style of door and so on, right? To be able to choose by just simply messing with the actor. So making the actor more flexible, right? Because you might have different types of doors, different types of windows. So anything that swings open should use the same actor. The way we're going to do this is we're actually going to use a construction script, not an event graph for this. And we will construct our geometry, our mesh, right? So the first thing is for the construction script, I want to have a static mesh object, right? So I'll add a static mesh right here. Bam. And I'll call this door mesh. And it will be empty at the start. It will be empty. I don't need it to have anything, right? Door mesh. And for the door mesh, let me get it over here, drag it over. I will say, drag out set static mesh, like that, and connect it here. And now what we want is we want to be able to somehow choose what is the actual mesh, the bad door FBX file that we exported. What is the actual mesh from the viewport, right? By just selecting here and clicking here. And for that, I want to do a variable. I want to make this into a variable. Very easy to do. Right click on it, promote to variable. Bam. It's called new mesh. I will just say, give me what to swing. Sure, give me what to swing, right? That's the door mesh will be changed, or not changed, but set by whatever you put in here. And how do you, well, actually now if I compile, right, and save, technically you should already be able to see, as you select this anchor, you should be able to see this variable here, but you don't. And the reason why you don't is because under door swing tutorial and under this actor, on the left hand side where we have our variables, give me what to swing variable has this little eye that's closed. That means that it's only visible when you're editing the actor, but not from the viewport. If we open the eye by clicking on it, compile, save, go in here, bam, give me what to swing, asks for a mesh. And as I give it a mesh, places it as a door. Easy as that. Then back to door swing tutorial, right? Let's look at the viewport. In the viewport, I have my box and so on, all of these annoying things. I don't care about the cube anymore. I will delete it. I don't care about the sphere anymore. I will delete it. And the grab component, that should be connected to the door mesh. Like so. Right? And also the grab component, I will just reset it to be 0, 0, 0. That doesn't really, that's whatever, right? We will get to it again. So now the door mesh, as it's grabbed, it's going to rotate. Compile. Okay, this blueprint itself is not a scene component, therefore target must have a connection. Oh, I'm stupid. In the event graph, we actually set relative rotation was for the cube, right? We deleted the cube, so it's freaking out. The relative rotation from now on is for the door. Door mesh, connect that here. Compile, save. Do we play? Let's play. Ooh. Wait, the lag. Yeah, we're good to go. Go here. Grab. Wait, did I forgot to do something? 1 second. Apologies, I figured it out. So the problem was that as I imported this, I forgot one quite a necessary step. If you double click on your bad door actor and you actually look at it, it does not have proper collisions. It needs to have complex collisions, which if I go to the details tab and I drag all the way down right here, no, where is it? There we go. Collision complexity. It needs to be set to use complex collision as simple. As this is going to be done now, so we generate collisions for it. I don't think it doesn't necessarily need to have complex collisions, but it needs to have some collision, right? Any collision. Or else it can't register. Let's go on here. Pop. Hello. Oh yeah, once. Opens up and closes, right? So we have a working door. Right, so that is how you set it up, right? And how the setup looks like. You also want to have not just a set static mesh, but also for the same door mesh, in the construction script, you want to set material. Set material, bam. And then for the material, you do exactly the same thing. Promote to variable. And then here, you just change the name of it from material to, well, actually material sounds good. And just don't forget the little I. Compile, save. Now, if I select this, there's also a material tab here, which means that I can now, let's go to the materials, just make it bronze, why not, right? Looks ugly. Beautiful wood. Okay, so that's kind of it, honestly. Like that's the whole functionality. If you want to create a sliding door instead of rotating door, then you don't do make rotator, right? You create a separate blueprint, and I have it here: door slide, door swing, right? So you create a separate blueprint for the swinging doors, and for those you simply use set relative transform. Sorry, not transform, translation. Set location, relative location, right? And then for the location you make vector, and most likely you will be multiplying the value by an amount of how much the door should slide, right? So for that, what I did was, if I go to door slide to just show you, like so, event graph, here I am multiplying it, set relative location, make vector, and I'm multiplying it, but I'm multiplying it by a variable that is named how far slide, and it has the little I open, which means that if I were to look at this door, for example, here, the sliding one, I have my how far slide set to 143 centimeters, which slides it fully open, right? That's the logic. I will not be showing you that part. One last bit that I probably should show you how to do is how to actually just grab, let me close that, how to just grab only the handle and not the whole door, right? When you use the grab component, which means that the door mesh needs to be separate from the handle mesh, right? And to do so, will that even work? 1 second, thinking. Really quickly thinking, 1 second. Yes, that would work. So as this is, the export of this doesn't matter, right? Because it gets, as it gets exported, it can be import it with any kind of a setting that you want. So what matters is how you import this. If I go back to VR, bad door, I will just simply delete this for now. Force delete. It will freak out and this will disappear and so on. That's fine. Import, bad door, open. And here I will choose to not combine the static meshes. Import. And now I have my handle and my door separate. Great. Which means that now in the door swing, actually for this actor, give me what you swing, that is going to be the door. I'll just simply drag and drop it over like so. Easy as that. Still works. Works like a charm. Right? But now there's no handle, right? So for the handle, I will just simply, for the door mesh, let's see if this works. I hope that this will work. If it doesn't, we will figure something else out. So for the door mesh, I will create a new add static mesh. Oh, object one, because I have it already selected here under here. So I don't really care too much about it. Add just a static mesh. I have unselected it. Drag it over the door mesh. And now the grab component, add it to the static mesh. So we have the door. This will I will rename to handle mesh. And grab component attached to the handle mesh, right? And for now, I'm going to be hard coding this in, meaning that the handle mesh, I will just choose here under static mesh that I want to use the object one, the handle. Compile, save. And with this, it should work. Yeah. Let's see. There's the handle. Let me get into there. Okay, so that works. But if I grab here, okay, great. If I'm trying to grab anywhere else on the door, it doesn't work. But the moment I grab a handle, that works, right? So from now on, the handle is the only trigger, right? That, oh, my bad. The handle is the only trigger that actually opens or closes the door. That's how you set it up. And if you want to have it fully clean, then you go for static mesh, set material. You will need to go into handle and just kind of do the same thing for it. So maybe this is going to be easier. We just Control-C, Control-V. Come on, Control-C, Control-V. Copy-paste. Delete these inputs. Then the door handle or handle mesh goes into the target for the set static mesh. Handle mesh goes into the target for set material. And then new mesh. So I'll just promote to variable. And I'll call this F2 to rename, by the way. Give me handle, or what to grab, I guess. What to grab. And this one is going to be right click, promote to variable, handle material. Handle, close enough. Open the eyes for these, compile, save, go back in here. Give me what to grab is empty, so there's no handle, but if I just simply drag and drop it over here, handle appears. And then if I go to my materials tab, black metal, sure, hinoki, wood, you know, my little handle is here. And that's it. Now we have a fully functioning, wonderful looking door in a very dark environment that you can't really see. But we have a door that swings open, and we also have functionality, possible functionality for a sliding door, right? If you want this project, right, with a few removed parts, because there are some paid for plugins that I cannot share with you because that would be bad. But generally, if you want this project, then consider becoming a Patreon member. Because Patreon members get all of the projects that I do on this channel for free. Well, most of the projects, 99% of the projects for free. link in the video description below. Hopefully this was helpful, and I will see you in the next one. Later.